especially defensively, we've always shown the ability. Richie and his guys have always shown the ability to move pieces around and find out how versatile everybody can be.
Quarterback touchdown! Throw it to your back, you're gonna get a touchdown. It's that easy. Throw it to the back, you get a touchdown. That's that easy. That easy. They work that spot. Option. Yeah.
Touchdown!
There we go.
Touchdown!
Good shit, Austin. Rebound.
Touchdown!
I gotta score, bro. I don't know whether to sing him happy birthday or tape him to the goalpost. I don't know what to do. Here, let's give this guy a happy birthday. Here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dave. Happy birthday to you.
What have you seen from your receivers so far in camp? They've chemistry there.
Yeah, they've been grinding, man. We do have a lot of chemistry with the guys coming back. I mean, you know, Braylon, I always call him quarterback 5 or quarterback 4. However many quarterbacks we have, he's the next one. So he sees the game just like we do. Tim and Steve are killing it. Poppy is doing his thing. Ternowski and Dave are just exactly what you'd expect them to be. Just they're in the right spot every time. And then some of the new guys coming in, man, I'm really impressed by them. I think Emmanuel Butler is somebody that has definitely caught my eye. He's very versatile. We have him in kind of a unique spot right now, and he's really excelling in it, you know. I really like how he plays the game. Vic is playing really well, man. Keandre Smith is doing really good. He's gotten to run with the ones last couple days just because, you know, we rotate everybody. And I've been impressed with all our guys. Every single person in the receiver room has really impressed me. And a lot of the guys, the newer guys, are like new to the CFL in general too, so they've learned the waggle, trying to read defenses on the fly. So there's been a lot put on their plate, but they've been doing a great job.
And just
What is up, my friends? From Canada and the United States of America, Mark Perry, your favorite American CFL fan and editor of CFL News Hub. Welcome to another episode of the CFL Week in Review, a weekly recap of all things Canadian Football League. I am your alt football guru. If you don't know what alt football is, it basically means anything but the NFL, pro football, but not talking about the NFL. So what's up, my friends? Back at it. Last time we were hanging out, we were doing a live stream that did really well on the CFL draft. That was a lot of fun hanging out with all you guys during that time period. I was off at a family thing, and then you're probably like, where the heck have you been, bro? I've had surgery. That's right. I had hernia surgery 2 weeks ago. So I wasn't feeling up to it the last 2 weeks, but back at it now. Everything is full steam ahead. There's going to be some times where I miss it a week due to family stuff. Family's important, especially after stuff that happened here in the United States. So yesterday in Texas, you know what I mean? So family's important. So I'll try to get these episodes in on Wednesdays at 8 o'clock or at 9 at the latest as we get through. But I have vacation coming up in June, heading to Disney World, which will be a lot of fun. So for the most part, but we'll always be here on Wednesdays throughout the whole CFL season, if there is one. So if you want to be part of the show, email podcast@CFL News Hub with your thoughts, or record an MP3 or video. Leave it on your phone. We'll play it on next week's show. You can leave a voicemail, 888-430-7692, extension 6. That's right, your own phone line, CFL fans. Make sure you smash that like button, by the way. And subscribe to our channel. We're on Stitcher, Audible Player FM, Amazon, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and, of course, Apple Podcasts. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Help spread the word about the Canadian Football League through the world and help our channel out. And you can watch CFL Week in Review live at 8 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook Live, or you can download the podcast. The timeline. We had the draft. We hung out with the draft. The rookie camps came in. Cool. Training camp started. Cool. Wasn't going to be a strike. Cool. Now it's looking like it. The first preseason game is supposed to take place Friday. That's in 2 days from this recording, May 27th, 2022. Regular season, June 9th, 2022. Oh, that's even more. I got to fix that. This is not right. This is like barely. Well, we don't know. How about this? I'm going to change this. Days to kickoff. Forgot to update that. But you get what I'm saying. You know what's going on if you're a CFL fan. We're going to get into all that stuff. We're going to get into what's the latest when it comes to this impending strike. Why are they going to strike in the first place? Are your reactions? So are you for or against, or you don't care? It seems like the sticking point is this proposed ratio rule. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Calgary Stampeders player getting into a fight and United Airlines essentially making his way to Canada to get there to only have it be on strike, plus some other good CFL news. And of course, your reaction to all this stuff, your social media stuff. And also, CFL News Hub is the official place where you can play fantasy football. That's right, CFL fantasy football leagues are forming now. If you head over to News Hub Fantasy, you can sign up for the leagues now. We'll take a look at that website coming up here in a little bit. But yes, you can play fantasy football. We have you covered. CFL it's News Hub Fantasy is where you can play fantasy football. That is, leagues are forming now. Drafts are happening soon. Going to run through a nice test of the drafting system tomorrow with the CFL players and everything. But everything is looking pretty good. We just ran a season. We're doing a season, same engine, doing USFL. Things are working well. And now we're moving into the CFL world, Canadian Football League, to set up that if they have games. That's the problem. All right. So without further ado, folks, let's just get into the week that was the CFL. So the CFL PA has till Thursday night to accept the new CFL proposal, or training camps are shut down. That's the way things stand right at this second, though that can change. So the CFL sent over a new collective bargaining agreement to the CFL Players Association. Dan Barnes of the Post Media quotes CFL Commissioner Randy Ambrosie as saying, if the CFLPA does not accept the offer by Thursday night, that's midnight, training camps will shut down. Quote, CFL Commissioner Randy Ambrosie said that if the CFLPA rejects the new proposal, training camps will shut down. League will no longer house and feed players as they had been doing during the 4-day work stoppage. That's from Dan Barnes talking to Randy Ambrosie. TSN's Dave Naylor has more on this situation. Quote, my sense from my conversation with Randy Ambrosie is that this process is going to take a sharp turn if we get to Friday with no deal. That's when it could get chaotic and the start of the season could come into play. There you have the deadline for the CFLPA to accept the new proposal is midnight Eastern time on Thursday. If not, preseason games scheduled for Friday and Saturday. That's a couple days away. Could be canceled. The league cannot afford to lose any game revenue. This is big because this league on the margins, and even though some people claim to be experts and think that this league makes a lot of money, that's actually not the case. There's so much discrepancy when it comes to that part. So they need gate revenue. We all can agree that gate revenue is the main driver of this thing. Preseason games are no exception. There's no you-know-what going on per se of hindering any venues. So this needs to happen. So any kind of missed time, missed game revenue is bad. The sticking point to all this drama, American football players playing in the Canadian Football League. Let's just kind of call it for what it is. That's what it is. This is from Dave Naylor. Quote, one thing I'm hearing is a lot of the players did not love the move from the 6-to-1 ratio model to the 49% model. I don't see that as an improvement. Perhaps things move back to 6-1, which would be a victory for simplicity. I didn't even understand the 47%. Everybody was saying, well, how do you even calculate that? That's 49%. Whatever that rule is, it was too complicated and they didn't want that. Well, apparently they don't even want the 6-to-1 ratio either. We'll get into that. TSN's Farhan Lalji goes more into the issue between American and Canadian players. Quote, and here lies the issue when the league made their proposal to eliminate all starters. The Canadian players dug in. I'm not sure the CFLPA will even recommend this deal, knowing how unlikely it is to pass unless all Americans vote. Naylor also talked about the changes to the original deal that was submitted today. He said spoke to Randy Ambrosi and got details. New offer to players. League provides $1 million ratification bonus to sign, which means like, hey, everybody gets a bonus for signing the deal, but removes $450,000 from the 2022 cap and $675 in guarantees in 2028. The 2028 cap may not be affected if revenue sharing kicks in. So essentially, they're pulling it from the past and moving some of that money forward to compensate the players. It's sounding like they're not going to do it. Why? The fear from Canadian players is this is a slippery slope. Apparently, you can't touch the Canadian ratio at all, even though this is a 7-year agreement, boys. So this isn't going to change. You know, it's going to happen now, but then there's going to be 7 years in between that time to deal with this ratio rule. And so the problem is the fear from Canadian players is it's a slippery slope where the voting power from the players could eventually come from mostly American players, which they fear would ultimately cost Canadian football players jobs in the Canadian Football League. A lack of a ratification bonus and revenue sharing were two other issues mentioned as sticking points with the players. They got those. Late last week, the CFL Board of Directors and CFLPA approved the agreement, which was then sent to the players for review. And then that was rejected Monday. CFL teams are currently still practicing. Not sure how this will all play out in the end. For American and Canadian players in the locker room, we're hearing that some of the CFL teams' CFLPA player reps are not popular people in the locker room at this time. So this is from TSN Today. Dave Naylor kind of went into this even more. So one of was talking about the lack of a ratification bonus, something the league had provided in the past. The other is the cumbersome and controversial Canadian ratio, which saw teams able to replace Canadians with Americans in many instances in every game. Now, the league addressed the ratification bonus issue by promising $1 million to be shared. We talked about that. The balance that gives, the league is crawling back $450,000 total from the 2022 salary cap, $50,000 per team, and lowering the guaranteed minimum in 2025 by $750,000 per team, totaling $675,000. The league is selling that the actual reduction in the 2028 cap would be zero if revenue sharing formula works like they believe it will, but forecasts about the CFL economics will look like in 2028 are at best a good guess. The deal essentially borrows some money from the future and moves it to the present, which in football matters doesn't really matter to the players because it's 2028. On the issue of the ratio, the league reverted to a formula that was part of a proposal rejected by the players on March 14th. In that proposal, the league called for a ratio of 7 starting Canadians to be changed to 6 true Canadians and 1 nationalized American. So it used to be starting Canadians to be 6, or changed, it used to be 7 starting Canadians to be changed. Now starting, what is that, the first play of the game, and then they can come out? Like, I don't get all these rules. So anyway, so now it's switched to 6 true Canadians and 1 nationalized American. So not just American that comes off the street, a nationalized American. That being a veteran player who has played 3 years with the same team. In the CFL, no one plays 3 years with the same team, and 5 years in the league. Yeah, I could see. And dude, if a guy is American has played 5 years in the league, he's basically Canadian at that point. Come on. That's 5 years playing in the Canadian Football League. I don't see the problem with this at all. But I'm an American, and there's plenty of xenophobes in the CFL world community, some fans out there that hate Americans, though they love American players, but now they blame. I don't know. This is just such a mess. So that's where we stand when it comes to this situation. As it stands right now, it is looking like the players might not even vote on this thing, and potentially could, as early as tonight, let the league say that they're not all over this one rule about switching things from a Canadian player to a non-existent, I mean, 3 years on one team is barely ever happens. 5-year guys, veteran CFL players, allowing them to start. But if they're American, like, I don't know. I'm an American. I get it that you want to make sure and give opportunity for Canadian football players. But if Canadian football players are so good now and are in the NFL and other places, does this really matter? But but having Canadian players on the roster is one thing. Keeping that in play, I don't have a problem with that. To give them opportunity, because there's plenty of opportunity. Well, at least the college, but who knows? Now everything is changing. You have the USFL, you have the CFL. Trust me, the USFL, those boys at Fox, they're in it for it's all pointing to that they are in it for the long haul. The CEO Lakin Murdoch recently, as this week, talked about how they're looking to sell teams to local owners in the next 5 to 7 years. Hence, the league will be around for 5 to 7 years. Like, they're in it for the long haul. Redbird Capital, XFL, The Rock, Danny Garcia. Redbird Capital is trying to buy AC Milan, the soccer team. That company itself is worth billions. Who knows? I mean, again, spring football has not ever worked except for 3 years at the USFL. We got fan control football as well. All of this stuff, is going to impact the CFL in some way with these American players. And if they're getting the vibe that, hey, man, we don't want you to play. We want you to play, but we don't want you to play. This could breed animosity in the locker room, all sorts of kind of drama. So we'll just have to kind of keep an eye on this. But as of it stands at this hour at 8:21 p.m. on May 25th, the vibe out there from the public is that they should vote for yes. The behind the scenes is saying that this is looking like we could have a shutdown of the CFL, which would be horrible over one stupid rule. I don't get it. But there's a lot of hardcore Canadian fans who want to make sure that this stays in place. And there's also people in the CFL media that essentially hates Americans. So they're okay to play in your league, but when it comes to rules like this, you have a problem with them. It's like the xenophobia is a word that we were talking about in the writers' chat here at CFL News Hub. I don't get it. Just play football. Let's have fun. The best players should be on the field, period. If you want to have a rule that says, more than half of the roster just needs to be Canadian players, that's fine. Guys blaming American coaches, then ban all the coaches. Let's take all the American players and all the American coaches and move them all to the United States. Does adding an extra American player going to make the CFL a better league or anything like that? No, I don't think that has anything to do with it. Wherever the rule is now, I was fine with. And the games were a little meh, but the league is, when it comes to the gameplay and the talent there, it's there. Adding it, but if this is what the coaches want and this is what the GMs want and this is what the owners want, they would have not put this on here if it wasn't for the owners. If the owners didn't want to change the ratio rule, they could have voted against this part. Hello? But xenophobes in the media who hate America want to basically blame, American coaches and American players for this problem. Then kick all the Americans out. I don't get it. This, to me, is not that big of a deal. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong why this is not a big deal. So are you one of those people out there and one of those parents that everybody's got to get a medal? Best players should play, period. If you want to keep it so most, a lot of Canadian guys are in there, that's fine. I think the Canadian player is, they're getting, there's plenty of good Canadian players to even have this kind of stuff. But they're worried about a slippery slope 8 years from now. It just seems silly. But what do I know? Because I'm an American and there's people out there that just don't like me because I want to be a fan of the CFL. Don't like me just because I'm from America. The big, Canadian, we're so, thoughtful when it comes to all this crap that we did with the schools and murdering kids or whatever the heck that was last year, and they found the grave of all the murdered kids. We're so understanding and we're so good about loving everybody, but except if you're an American, apparently. Like, I don't get it. This is stupid. Just play football. You want every kid to get a medal? Like, y'all look dumb. I'm sorry. Get on the field. Let's play. The best players should play. And if the coaches favor Americans and their team sucks, well, then they'll get fired. Like, we're just living in this like amped up, angry, hateful society thing going on now. And this is just unfortunate because the CFL is a great game. I think the CFL has the ability. I think they have everything in place. And then like everybody's like, people are like so offended by like, this is negotiation. Like, have you not even, do these people even ever have a girlfriend or a wife? Like, have you ever negotiated with your wife? Like, you're always going to ask for something. Like, this is like basic stuff. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. Thursday night at midnight is going to be the telltale sign of how things go down. Calgary Stampeders wide receiver Brandon Langley was suspended, arrested following a fight at an airport. And the United employee that he fought was fired. Never seen anything like this before. Again, the craziness of this world right now. So Calgary Stampeders wide receiver Brandon Langley has been placed on indefinite suspension by the Stampeders following a fight he had with a United Airlines employee. The incident happened at the United's Airlines bag drop desk at Newark Airport in New Jersey on Thursday, May 19th. Langley was headed, of course, to Canada for the CFL training camp. Quote, this is from the Stampeders. The Calgary Stampeders have placed American receiver Brandon Langley on indefinite suspension. Langley was charged with simple assault after an incident at Newark Liberty Airport on May 19th en route to his first training camp with the Stampeders. While on suspension, Langley is not permitted to enter team facilities or have any involvement with the club. Yikes. Stampeders take matters such as these very seriously, said Stampeders president and general manager John Huffnagel. After learning details of the incident, including the filing of a criminal charge, we are definitely suspending Brandon Langley. At this point is an ongoing legal matter. The Stampeders will have no further comment. There you go, which is, the league needs to do that and just be like, we're just trying to figure out what's going on. Not a good look. We should suspend it until further matters. Now, the incident is not so cut and dry. I saw the headlines about this, and I figured athlete was being a bad guy and punched this guy. No. The employee at United Airlines, he was fired also. You never hear that before, and you didn't see that in the headlines, by the way. I made sure I put that in the headlines. This drama took place because Langley allegedly was using a wheelchair to transport his luggage instead of a paid-for luggage cart, which apparently cost $5. The unnamed airline worker threw the first punch. I'm not going to play you the video because I don't want to get in trouble with YouTubes or any of that kind of stuff. And I don't want to, that's just that's not our style here, I guess, based on the previous footage. So I'm not going to play it. After the incident, the employee was taken to the hospital for a wound over his eye. Well, if you punch a football player, you might wind up getting some stitches as well. Langley, 27, a former Denver Bronco, was arrested on Thursday, May 19th. The fired a former American Airlines employee was not charged. He was charged, but the other guy, the employee, was not. United released the following statement, quote, United Airlines does not tolerate violence of any kind at our airports or on board our planes, and we are working with local authorities to further investigate this matter. Langley posted the following via his Twitter about the fight, quote, he says, you can clearly see so many United employees watching everything unfold while I'm basically begging for help. Craziest part, no one of them helped de-escalate the situation. It was like they wanted it to happen, like I had a target on my back, close quote. Langley, his friends, have set up a GoFundMe page to help with legal fees and sue American Airlines. It's just a unfortunate thing. And I have said this, we're living in, the world is a broken place. And tensions are running high of everything that's gone over the last couple of years, and it's sad. So basically what you have is an incident where an unnecessary incident that will tarnish both men for the rest of their lives. As of right now, they have raised $1,235 of their $5,000 goal to see what's going on there to help with the legal fees, because CFL players, especially CFL players from the United States, do not make a lot of money. CFL News Hub will have more on this incident has developed, and we're going to follow this all the way to the end. We won't be like one of these outlets that just, make the wide receiver, the athlete out to be the bad guy and then don't follow up. Well, we'll get the full story, and we'll continue to follow this to its conclusion. But again, a sad incident and an unnecessary incident that needed to happen. But people are crazy right now, man. People are crazy. Some shocking but not so shocking news. The Blue Bombers released receiver Jalen Saunders. I'll get that in a second. So the Winnipeg Blue Bombers released receiver Jalen Saunders. The team announced Wednesday. The news comes just a month after the American pass catcher signed a 2-year deal with the club. Before signing with the Bombers, Saunders last played with the Hamilton Tiger Cats in 2018. That's 4 years ago. That season, Saunders registered 45 receptions, 739 yards, 2 touchdowns in 9 games of the Ticats prior to suffering a season-ending knee injury against the Argos. Saunders led the Ticats in receiving during the 2017 schedule with 1,170 on 76 catches, 25 games over 2 seasons with Hamilton. He accumulated 121 receptions, 1,909 yards, 6 touchdowns, 15.8 yards per grab. Saunders signed with Ottawa in 2020. However, the season was later canceled, and hopefully that doesn't happen again. He re-signed in 2021 before suffering a season-ending injuries in a car accident. Apparently, it was like a drunk driver hit his car, and he was banged up. Saunders was selected by the Jets, New York Jets, in the 4th round of the 104th overall during the 2014 NFL draft. He played 9 games with the Jets and New Orleans Saints during his rookie season, posting 1 catch for 7 yards, some punt returns, and kickoff returns. While at Oklahoma, Saunders played 22 games, recording 1,558 yards, 123 receptions, and 11 touchdowns. Spent 2 years in Norman, Oklahoma, after 2 years at Fresno State, where he produced 80 for 1,527 and 15 touchdowns in 26 games. My guess to what happened to Jalen Saunders is he showed up at camp, and I mean, that was a nasty car accident, and I wonder if they cut him because it was just not, they were concerned. They released him because maybe he just didn't pass a physical, or does he not want to play in the CFL? Like, who knows what's going on there. But we wish Saunders the best of luck. Hopefully he can catch on with a team in the future. Some good CFL news. Canadian Football Hall of Fame opens its doors to 2020 and 2021 classes. That's right. Tickets are on sale now for the induction ceremony at Tim Hortons Field on June 17th. Does it matter if there's a strike going on or not? Who knows? Tickets are now on sale for the Canadian Football League's Hall of Fame and Museum's June 17th induction ceremony. For its 2020 and 2021 classes, fans are invited to take in the festivities at Tim Hortons Field as 13 members are added to the Hall's hallowed ranks before joining these legends of the game for a celebration, cocktail, and reception. Amen. Let's go. Oh, no. I will be in Disney World. Wish I was there. Everything has happened, by the way, this week that I'm going to be in Disney. Doors will open at 5 p.m. for the field-level induction ceremonies at 6. Brief 15-minute intermission with the ceremonies of the 2020 and 2021 classes. Inductees will see their iconic Hall of Fame busts unveiled for the first time before taking center stage to reflect on their incredible careers. Seating will be available on a first-come, first-served basis. Cool. The evening will then shift to the CFHOF on club level at Tim Hortons Field, where fans can join the inductees and their families to celebrate the special occasion. Tickets for the evening include past appetizers, and a welcome beverage. Nice. Gluten-free, I hope. Let's get some cider beers up in there. Or a nice rosé wine would be good as well. Or some Terramana tequila for you people out there. The previous announced 2020 class includes offensive lineman Clive Brock, Freddie Childress, as well as quarterbacks Henry Burris, who was going to be back, and then he left like after a week, and Greg Vavra. In the players category, the Calgary Stampeders former head coach and their current president and GM, John Huffnagel, and former St. Mary's University coach and athletic director, Larry Utek, will be inducted in the builder category. To be inducted in the player category as part of the previous unveiled class of 2021 will be defensive linemen Will Johnson and Mike Walker, wide receivers Nick Lewis, and defensive backs Orlando Stanauer, we know that name, and Don Wilson. The builders category will welcome Montreal Alouettes head coach Marv Levy and sixth commissioner of the CFL, Doug Mitchell. You can purchase the tickets on Ticketmaster. Ceremonies fall on the eve of the Hamilton Tiger Cats home opener against the Stampeders. Both classes are supposed to be honored at halftime. Tickets are available here. Let's check. We'll take out that. The Canadian Hall of Fame and Museum, located on the fourth floor of Tim Hortons Field, operates as a non-profit registered charity located in Hamilton, Ontario. Since 1963, it's the home of more than 80,000 Canadian football artifacts, ranging from equipment, trophies, to photos, videos spanning the rich history. Very cool. Definitely a place that I need to hang out and check out. As far as tickets go on sale, let's take a look as this loads. Oh, accept the things. $30. $30 tickets all the way up to, that's the lowest price. I'm looking at it on the side, $50. Highest price, $139. That's all Canadian, by the way. That is all Canadian. So sounds like a great event. Does it get canceled if we have to have a strike or something like that? We will just have to find out, my friends. So we're supposed to have a preseason, and it's supposed to take place on May 27th at 7:30 p.m. when the Toronto Argonauts take on the Ottawa Red Blacks. Super excited to see this stuff. Super excited to see the rookies. Super excited to have a preseason. I think the game will be good. The games will be good. Just let these guys get rocking and rolling. Then on Friday, that's at 7:30. Then at 8:30, you would have Edmonton at Winnipeg. Cool. Let's do it. Saturday, you have a 4:00 game, BC Lions against the Calgary Stampeders. And then Saturday, May 28th at 7 p.m., you'll have Montreal at Hamilton, all preseason games. It doesn't look like that. And I mean, just to wipe out those preseason games would be bad. It's just going to look ugly, my friends. But those are the games that are supposed to happen this weekend. We'll just have to wait and find out if they do. Some interesting names on the transaction wire for the CFL. First, Jazz Ferguson, who's played in the XFL. He was from suspended to the active roster. Karen Moore is injured. Some other notable names down here. The big one that came out was Liam Dobson. Bombers, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, have signed Canadian offensive lineman and 2021 third overall pick in the CFL draft, Liam Dobson, to a 2-year contract. Dobson is 6'3", 330 pounds, Texas State, February. That's his birthday. Officially arrives in Winnipeg after a standout college career at the University of Maine through 2017 to 2022 and transferred to Texas State for the 2021 season. Dobson was a 2020 preseason All-American third-team selection by Hero Sports and a 2020 preseason first-team All-Colonical Athletic Association by Phil Steele, who selected Stats FCS third-team All-American and first-team All-ACC in 2019 and was voted Maine's outstanding offensive lineman after starting all 12 games and averaging 12 knockdowns per game in 2019. Dobson was Maine's highest-graded offensive lineman in every game as a junior before transferring to Texas State. Dobson was selected 23rd overall by the Nolens Breakers in the 2022 USFL draft. He most recently attended 2 NFL minicamps with the Bears and Saints. Dobson is at the practice wearing number 64. Remember, with Dobson, he wanted to sign with the USFL. People saying, "Oh, well, the USFL, that doesn't matter." All the jabrones that run their mouth talking about how this stuff doesn't matter. Well, clearly it did, because he wanted to play in the USFL rather than playing in the CFL. But visa issues caused him to have to stay, so he wound up staying and playing in the CFL. This is a huge pickup for the Blue Bombers, who are already a stacked team. But there's two things to keep in mind. Number one, these guys have got an outstanding offensive lineman. You assume he's plugged right in. If not, he is a top backup for that team. That's the first part. So Winnipeg just got stronger. The second part on this story is the fact that he wanted to play in the USFL. The USFL is not that big of a, he preferred the USFL over the Canadian Football League, couldn't make it work with the USFL, then went and is going to play with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He will not be the first to do that. And that is something that the players and everybody else in the CFL needs to realize, that the XFL and USFL are on the path to pull some of these American players. So, hey, CFL fan, xenophobe CFL fan, if you don't want Americans and you have such a problem with America, then why don't you just kick out all the American players and solve your problem that way, and then you guys can be on your own. But let's get real, because that's just not going to be helpful. All right, we'll be back with your social media stuff right after this. Stay tuned, my friends.
Coming up this week on the Markcast. Well, last week was the Talent Wars, and now this week we have the Broadcast Wars. The XFL has announced their 2023 TV deal. Going to be breaking down all of the details, filling you in on some new information we've uncovered. Plus, we're going to be comparing it to the USFL TV schedule. Which alternative football league has the better broadcast slate headed into 2023? You might be surprised to hear what I have to say. Plus, lots of chatter has come out this week from both Houston and St. Louis. Both cities potentially preparing for XFL franchises to return there. Going to bring on Evan Willsmore from XFL News Hub to break it all down. Then all your regularly scheduled USFL programming. We're midway through the season, approaching week 6. Ian Harditz of PFF joins the show to give his thoughts.
I really enjoyed it, man. Like, the biggest hate pushback I kind of see on it, like, I'll post a highlight of a sick one-handed catch and people are like, oh, look how the stands are empty. Like, get over it, man. Every game is in Birmingham. I'm not surprised that people aren't lining up to go sit in the stands for hours on end.
Adam Levitin of Established to Run also drops by to share his analysis and thoughts so far of the USFL season.
To me, the USFL product is just a worse version of the NFL, which is still cool. But I was just hoping that they would go for something different.
Plus, the CFL season hangs in the balance. They're trying to resolve the strike. Players are protesting. I bring on Football Canada President Jim Mullen. We have a very thoughtful discussion about how the league will be able to move forward following this divisiveness.
At the end of this, you want a mutually beneficial partnership. A lot of the rhetoric that's come out of this from both sides, quite frankly, doesn't match up with the on-ramping from the previous year that led into it.
Should be a really great show. Thank you all for your support. Please like and subscribe.
All right, my friends, we are back live. Marcin says, hey, I am for the strike because I played 1 year of high school football. I support the players 100%. That's fine. I mean, if you, but why do you support the players? Like, I think they got a good deal. And usually at least in America, when it comes to Major League Baseball, hockey, all this stuff, it always feels like I wouldn't be totally against this whole 10-year deal, or even if they were stuck on 5 years versus 7 years. I'm with you on that. I would be like, yeah, I'm with the players when it comes to the length of the deal. I would have had a problem with this ratio thing where it's a dude who most likely it's just a spot for 5-year Americans that played in the CFL, and it's to start. Is there like some kind of rule when it comes to that? Let me know in the chat. Like, so he starts and then you pull him out. Does it make a difference? Does he get more pay because he started? Like, I don't understand that stuff. So anyway, hey, by the way, I didn't mention this. If you like Canadian football, I need you to smash that like button, spread the word about the Canadian Football League, because I am super pumped for this for the Canadian League. I cover, we cover everything from the XFL, USFL, fan control football, and the Canadian Football League. I am more excited about the Canadian Football League because I can finally get to watch it in its entirety, hopefully, between the preseason games being played, and all the way through the end of the season. So I'm super excited about it. And then we have this. It's been all sorts of drama. The whole, they're going to move to 4 downs, which they're not going to do, nor should they move to 4 downs. Last year, I was on the fence about the 4 down versus 3 down, especially because you have the USFL and XFL lurking in the shadows. Whether they make it or not, who knows? But that makes the game unique, and it also makes it unique opportunity for players. So that discussion needs to be done. No more of that discussion. It's a waste of time. But this deal, let's go. Then if you take the ratio, but put a kicker on the ratio. All right, well, we'll try the ratio for 3 years, and then another vote. I don't know if you can do that kind of stuff, and I don't know if the owners would want to do that. But I don't know. Say you do that, but then you revert it back or something. I don't know. There's ways around it. Dope Leos says, greetings from Europe. We strike a lot too. Yeah. We don't really have strikes here in the U.S. Real bacon lover. Best name ever. Please don't strike CFL. I'm hoping to go to a Hamilton Tiger Cats game. Me too, my friend. I really want to get to one this summer. I was trying to do June between my surgery and then going on vacation, and April, just everything just kind of threw things out of whack. July, August, would love to kind of get out there and check out a CFL. I don't think we're going to do the Grey Cup just because Saskatchewan's basically all booked. That's from what I'm hearing, unless, the CFL powers that be could hook us up somehow. I don't think I'd be doing that. But I would love to at least go to a game in July is kind of where I hope to, if they are playing. I would really like to do that. Now, hey, we got live people also. Appreciate everybody on there. On the Facebooks as well. Donnie says, when they voting on the new CBA, they have until tomorrow night to get it done. He says, a strike is the last thing we need right now. Totally agree 100% with Donnie on that one. Thanks for everybody on the Facebooks for checking in as well. Let's go to some of your social media stuff. Let's start off first with let's go with the little Facebook action, shall we? First up, talking about the rules, basically asking the question. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments. Are you for, against, or don't care on the proposed ratio rule? Let's go down to the tape. Scott says, don't care about this rule. I prefer to see the best player on the field. I'm with you on there, my friend. Norm says, as long as the best players are playing, does it really matter in the scheme of things? Agreed there. Sean says, just end the labor dispute so we can have a season. Agreed there. Ron says, I'm for the league. It's a 9-team league, not much revenue sharing, or if any at all. You can make millions in the CFL. Fan base and support is not there anymore. Ottawa folded 2 times already in the CFL. Just look at Toronto. They can't draw any fans to games, and either did Edmonton, even though Edmonton was bad. 10th team won't make a difference. CFL can't grow anymore. And oh my God. And it's already, I think, at its capacity for teams. CFL failed already trying to get American teams in the mid-90s. Now, I am somebody that says that how you can fix this stuff. John says the ratio rule is bleep. Get rid of the league. Looks like a joke. Meh. And then Glenn says, who cares? Derek says, meh. And that's all your comments there. I will say this, and I might catch heat for it. I don't care. I'm Mark Perry. That's how I roll. I think that is the solution. Remember, all these guys are like, oh, we're going to have, gambling's going to be great. And you're going to have gambling kiosks in the stadiums to do things. And they're going to make so much money. And we told you on this program, you look at episodes from the past, that is not realistic. And that, frankly, is a joke. No. And you don't need a kiosk when you have your freaking phone, bro. It's called a telephone. You do not have a telephone? A cell phone. And, and that's going to make some extra cash. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about that. And that's going to help the league. But unfortunately, the CFL needs that American dollar. You don't have a problem with your hockey getting that American dollar. You don't have a problem with your baseball getting that American dollar. And you don't have a problem with your basketball from getting that American dollar. That is the way you fix things. And I've always said, expand to 2 teams in the United States. That's it. So you have your Nova Scotia team out there, the Schooner deal. You have that as Team 10. And then in 2 or 3 years, you add 2 American teams way above, way up there. It doesn't matter. Just give the Americans an excuse to watch your game. The ratings for the USFL, which the Fox didn't even try, is in the millions. Could you imagine a USFL game on Fox getting 1 million views in the United States? How that would change the course of the league? There's a thirst for football in the United States, and your game is unique. Our game, I've been doing this long enough. I put plenty of money in the CFL. Our CFL game is unique. That's how you make it work. That's how you do it. This 3 downs to 4 downs don't mean jack. It can't. There's too many of it. You have college football, you have the NFL, and the other thing is you need to have games on CTV, and it can't be exclusive to TSN. Either it's TSN and Sportsnet has one division versus the other. The best deal is TSN, Sportsnet, and CTV. Those 3. CFL games should be on all 3 of those channels. That is the deal that you have to make. I would take less money to make that be the deal. If you could do that and you expand to 2 teams in the United States, you're golden. You're good to go, bros. And we don't have this chit-chat anymore. Just telling you. You're welcome. Cliff's talking about, this is an exclusive by our own Mike Mitchell on our USFL News Hub. He got a hold of the contract clause for USFL players. And basically, so here's the deal. Before, when the original USFL contracts were signed, basically, if a player in the USFL got an invite to an NFL camp, the USFL player would need to be released from the contract. A player with a contract is not allowed to try out for the NFL. That is their rule. So they said, fine, you can be released from your contract and you can try out for an NFL team. If the guy goes in, if Jordan Ta'amu gets a tryout with the Washington Commanders, they want to take a look at him. He needs to be released from the USFL. He goes in, he throws a little bit. They're like, you know what, Jordan, we like you, but you know what, we're not interested. Or we sign you for a week and we cut you, which happens all the time. Then he is released from that USFL contract and he can go play in the CFL. He can go play in the USFL, or he could play in the XFL. Well, the USFL does not want, but essentially you're cherry picking off the best players. The best players in the USFL are the ones that are going to get released and then make their way to an NFL roster, maybe making the team or eventually getting cut. That leaves them up for grabs for the XFL and CFL. Well, the USFL does not want that. So what they've done is they've now put in a new clause in there that says that if you get released from the NFL team, that you agree that you revert back to the USFL to fulfill your 2-year commitment to the USFL, essentially cutting off the XFL and CFL players, those leagues. So none of the USFL guys could technically play in the CFL next year or even after the season's over. However, the rumblings in the circuit is that the agents and players aren't signing that. Some of the guys that are just coming in now, it's a prerequisite. So if I wanted to sign with the USFL, I would have to sign that agreement that basically says I'm committed to the USFL for 2 years and I can't go and play for the XFL or CFL. This is the kind of stuff that's going on. This could potentially happen with the XFL as well. So Liam Dobson would never play if he had signed that USFL contract and then he signed the kicker to it. But there would no way he would be in the CFL right now. That's why this was posted here. So let's go to the videotape. It says Cliff says not good for CFL. Maybe they should have had that contract in place as well years ago. Now they get scraps from other league. Neil says, America, home of the free, unless, of course, we change the nature of the contract in the owner's best interest after it was signed. Freedom. I agree with you there, brother. Agree with you there. And Guy says the above pick is from game day. Ouch. That's not fair. That's not nice. That's part of it's incubator. The fans don't get it. But yeah, that was funny. I'll give you that one. About the Stamps, Brandon Langley suspension, the arrest, that whole drama. Alan says why he was assaulted and defended himself. Stampeders front office joining woke movement now. Oh, shut up with your wokeness. What are they supposed like? I think there's a term for when people. I don't know what it is. The woke thing, and this is prevalent in sports. Sports is supposed to be fun. Get out of here with your political garbage. Ryan says great job, but there's a lot more that needed this exact treatment, and there you have it there. So again, I've said pray for both sides. It was just an unfortunate deal. Just an unfortunate for both players. It's just both people basically ruin their lives over something so silly. It's like road rage that happens. I know somebody who did like got into that road rage thing, and hit the person who cut him off, hit their car, and fender bender, argued, and then at the end later, him telling me, yeah, that was just not worth it. Like I had to get my insurance involved, and I had to drop the car off, and it was like, for what? Exactly. But that's kind of the world we live in now, where amplified anger, because media companies make money and get you to pay attention when you're pissed off. And I've talked about this on other shows before. It is a known thing in the United States. The more pissed off you are, the more they show you stuff that pisses you off. Why? Because you engage with it. But then there's the ramifications of that, which is then you have a public who is pissed off at everything. And that's where we're at right now. Thank you, Facebook and others. Elks quarterback Arbuckle says Canadian players are not at fault over the CBA vote thing. This was a little while ago, but of course Ryan has to point out, this is from the Edmonton Sun, says Elks quarterback. Ryan says, it's Elk. Damn it, LOL. That was a whole thing when that name came out. Is it Elk versus Elks? Get that, whatever. Whatever, my friends. All right, on the YouTube, Theodore King, our main man, Theodore King, says, congrats on having the highest rated CFL News Hub show so far. May there be many more. Talking about our draft. Yes, we did great numbers compared to everybody else. The said says, my brother was picked. Go Pierre. Very cool. Excited to see your brother. And again, all of these leagues at the end of the day, American players, Canadian players, and remember global players too. Y'all xenophobe CFL fans who, don't like this, but then it's just the logic doesn't flow properly. And that's what bothers me. So you want there to be a cap, but then you don't want global players. You want American players when they play good for you, but then you don't want them to take jobs. It's like, what? It doesn't make any sense. From an outsider's perspective, I don't live in Canada. I haven't followed the Canadian Football League for 100 years. I'm not 100 years old. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I'm on logic. Follow the logic, please. Follow the logic. On to the Twitter at CFL_news. Now, this guy is the number one Twitter news guy on the planet by far. He is the best. I don't know how he does it. If it's just him, does he have a team of like 50 people? He's the top notch, 100%. If I had the money, I would hire him in a second to do our social media. Well, I'll do our Twitter for all of our things. I'll be like, bro, here's $100,000, and I want you to do what you do on all these other channels. Can you do that? Top notch. So he put a poll out there. He says, if the CFL ratio went from 7 Canadian starters to 6, with an option for 7th to be a naturalized Canadian, an American playing the CFL for 3 or 4 years, the whole deal, or a 4th, or 3, how would you view or take this? 6% said quit watching it entirely. 22%, and this is 860 votes, be upset but still watch. 70%, he said they're okay with it. If the CFL ratio went from 7 Canadian starters to 6, with the option for 7th to be a naturalized Canadian, an American playing in the CFL for 4 years with the same team. So he's just tweaking the rules a little bit. 4 years with the same team, which doesn't really happen. But still, even that tweak, basically everybody's okay with it either way, with the 6, 7, and 3 years, whatever. Like, people are fine with it. It's just like, come on, let's go. We've been through enough. Time to play some ball. I don't see the big deal. No one's really being able to explain, other than hate America angle to the whole deal. No one's been able to explain. I mean, taking Canadian jobs, it's a starter. Are the roster size, this is the still same? Like, did that change? Is it like, 40 Canadians and 20 Americans still? Like, I haven't heard that part. Am I missing something? Let me know. And let me know in the comments before the show's over. Hurry up. Let me know. All right, let's go to our some emailers here before we wrap up the show. And then we'll talk about fantasy football as well. I will pull that up here in a second. I'll show you that as we just read these last couple ones, because you want to hear about newshubfantasy.com. That's right. Head over to News Hub Fantasy. You can sign up now for Canadian Football League teams. A lot of fun, cool stuff going on there. All right, let's David says, talking about the CFL rule changes. These willy-nilly rule changes won't make much of a difference in terms of scoring. Going to 4 downs would have increased scoring, but the rest of the rules should remain the same, including 12 men, wider field, rouge. Definitely no fair catch. Salary cap as it stands is the most prohibitive rule. He wants 4 downs. I'm not 4 downs, guys. Cindy says, when do you think the CFL will release the rule book? Official rule book. I don't know. Do they even release a full rule book? We haven't seen anything like that. Dave says, talking about the draft results, the Rough Riders wasted their first-round pick on Samuel M. Millis because it was clear he was going to the NFL. The Arizona Cardinals have offered him an invitation. The Rough Riders should have ignored the salary cap and made him a big offer to sign. Otherwise, they're just throwing their first-round pick away by signing someone who was bound to the NFL. Did he sign with, I believe he might have signed with the CFL. Let us check this, because this is a little bit old, because it's been a little while since we've gotten into the game here. Let me look up this. CFL. The Rough Riders. It doesn't say if he signed a contract. Let me know if he signed a contract. I'm not... Oh, yeah. Riders signed Samuel M. Ellis, Inc. entire 2022 draft. This Rev signed national wide receiver. So he signed. I thought so. So he's good there. So that wasn't a wasted pick. And finally, about the CFL PA, the entire CBA drama is the fault of the CFL head office and owners. Imposing $5 million salary cap for 10 years cements minor league status upon the CFL. Remember, they switched that. The salary cap should be increased. Low-end NFL players make more than 5. The marquee players exemption. So, but of course, this is a fluid situation because we know what's going on, and we might not have football. We might not have we might not have preseason game this Friday, which would be a bummer. I'm looking forward to it. Love me some Canadian football, friends. All right, hey, we want to check out before we check out the social media one last time. Let's check out CFL Fantasy Football on News Hub Fantasy. That's right. So now you have CFL Fantasy Football. It's beta testing. So basically, if you're playing, you are a beta tester. So in the section, when the season plays, you have top players, top teams. You have CFL news from CFL News Hub. Makes sense. You can view your leagues. This is where you join a league. You can click on join. There's 6 teams per league. You can create a league, and you can draft now. Now, every day, it pulls in the latest players. So here's a bunch of players who signed with the CFL. Isaiah Wright, Chandler Worthy, Drew Wolotowski. I wonder why these names came in like this today. I'd have to see why that. Some of these guys have been there for a while. I don't know why it changed, but basically it pulls the rosters in every day, gets the latest rosters. You can join a league. Here is a league that this is a dev league that I have. You can set up your pre-draft. These are all the players in the league and your points that you get. There's a league chat, account settings. You'll get notifications. You can, drop players and waiver wire and all this kind of good stuff. So here's all the list of different players, that you can set up for your pre-draft so that when you go into the draft room, your draft is all set. Also, let's see here. So you go to the CFL page. You can also check out. So you can join a league, and there's just a couple leagues in. You can create your own. This is a test league, but there's a couple leagues in there looking for members. Remember, 6 people. You can do points. You can do head-to-head. I expect we haven't really promoted this actually anywhere except for the podcast. So we're going to start pushing this out once we kind of hear what's going on with the CFL and my final kind of week of testing. Then we'll get that in. But it's going to be a lot of fun. The USFL fans have had a lot of fun. If you want to check out, see what we can show you what the USFL kind of looks like. You can see it's got my quarterback, my lineup. Here's the weekly points. I did good last week, 90 points. Here's the leader. We have our chat going on here, your total points. You move guys from your bench to your current lineup, and there's the notifications, who was added, who was dropped, that whole kind of thing. So that's how it looks. And then on the USFL side of things, just to give you an idea of like what it looks like during the season, we basically show you the top players from, so Kavante Turpin, Jordan Tamu, the top players here. And here are the top teams for the week. So these are the highest scorers of all the fantasy leagues are posted right here as well. So, and then you could see, pull in the players and news, etc. So it's a lot of fun. Join us, News Hub Fantasy, in the show notes. You can check that out. We'll promote it more as the season as we kind of shake all the cobwebs out of what's going on with this stuff, as you know there. All right, finally, one last check of the chat room. Mike says, hey, from Winnipeg. I'm hoping to see the first preseason game this Friday, but who knows? I'm with you, brother. I am with you, brother. I want to see these games too. I've been itching for the CFL. Like, listen, we got the XFL. That's our the mother site. You guys, whatever about the XFL, but that's our big site. The CFL site, we're coming to year 2. It's looking a lot better. Things are going a lot smoother. Very excited about that. And I'm excited about the CFL season. Like, I just want to talk about football and get going. A lot of player changes. Speedy Banks is in Toronto. The Elks, all the things they've done. These great, interesting rookie class. The Philpott brothers. And, there's just so much going on that there's a lot of storylines to be had that will revolve around the league. So I'm super excited. And we just got to get this past us, my friends. Got to get this past us. All right. And that's about it for this week's show. So remember, if you want to be part of the show, email podcast CFL News Hub with your thoughts, or record an MP3 or video on your phone. We'll play it on next week's show. Leave a voicemail, 888-430-7692, extension 6. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Help spread the word. Smash that like button. We should get to 20 likes on this episode, please. CFL fans, do us a favor, smash that like button. Lots of work goes into this. Watch CFL Weekend Review live at 8 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday on your YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, my friends. All right. You got to say lots of prayers. Guys, you know what I am. I'm a Christian dude. Not necessarily a good dude, and I don't always do the right thing. You know what I mean? I'm a human, broken, just like you guys, just like everybody. Definitely prayers for stuff going on in the United States. Praying for cooler heads to prevail when it comes to the CFL. There's people that, the people that work at the concessions who have been able to make extra cash for the last couple of years. You know what I mean? There's fans going to the games. There's the moments for their families of spending time together. And there's so much. Sports is a positive thing. There's a lot of jabrones in there that are angry sports fans. We don't want angry sports fans. We don't want angry sports reporters. We're not interested in that kind of stuff. We are just here. Sports is our mantra at CFL News Hub, XFL, Dogecoin News Hub, Pro Wrestling News Hub, all of the News Hub network of sites is this is supposed to be fun. And if it's not fun, then we're just not going to do it. Sports, remember, is supposed to be fun. All right, my friends, thanks for checking in. I'll see you next week. Hopefully we can talk about preseason games, but I don't think that's going to happen. That's just my take. God bless always out there, my friends, and I will see you all later. Oops. Stand by in 3, 2. There we go.